Well, welcome back to Talkin Nets, episode 21. This is an emergency pod. March Madness has begun. Your Brooklyn Nets decided today that they would part ways with Kenny Atkinson, and Hudson Flynn and I have to talk about it. So, Hudson, what's up, bro?
Yeah, so I guess I'll tell the story about how I heard about it.
Yeah, why not?
Because, I guess we just should walk through it from the beginning. We're coming off a win last night. It's great. I was tweeting about it. It was a wonderful win. We blew out the Spurs. It's nice. I go to bed. I have a thing I have to go to in the morning, and my phone is off. I turn it on, and I have 2 texts from Keith. Keith thinks I'm asleep. I'm like, oh, what's going on? Then I check the news, and Kenny's gone. And he's gone after what I saw as 2 of his best coaching performances of the season this week, with the Boston comeback win with the second team, as well as the Spurs win after taking Torian out of the starting lineup and getting something great out of him from, the bench. But now he's gone, and now Talkin Nets is getting an extra episode out this week, so that's where we are.
Originally, when I got this news, I tweeted a couple things about it, and I said, new Talkin Nets Monday, March 9th. But you can't wait in these situations, and you can't you have to strike while it's hot. You have to speak on it while you feel it. You can't sleep on it for 2 nights and then try and recreate the feeling or the moment or the time. We're in it today. So my guy Dane, who's been on this podcast, DBM, he tweeted at me and said, they fired Kenny. Oh, shit. #Nets at 9:29 a.m. So 9:30 on Saturday morning. Nets Twitter is starting to go crazy. My response is, nah, no way. I know you wouldn't play. Source, ? Then I get the Bleacher Report update. I go to Twitter. It's nuts. I tweet out, oh, my God, they fired Kenny, with the Kenny from South Park meme. I wasn't expecting this either. That was a fun game last night. And this week, if you just look at this week, the changes and decisions that Kenny made stopped the losing streak and led us to a overtime win in Boston. Now, yes, you can put that all on Caris LeVert, but we've seen Caris LeVert not play at the end of games. We've seen Spencer Dinwiddie get the chance to be the guy at the end of the games, hero ball, try and win it for the Nets. That was over. Decision was made to let a kid named Chris Chiozza get off. Great move. Kid looked ready. Now, after that big win, it is very hard to play a back-to-back and come home and beat a team like the Grizzlies, who are the 8th seed in the West with the Rookie of the Year. We had a complete letdown. We got smoked. It was a rout. It was not close at all in the second half. It looked bad. The fans were mad about it. I'm sure ownership was mad about it. And then we come out last night, Friday night, and respond against a legendary coach in Greg Popovich. And a Spurs team that beat us already this season, we blew them out. It wasn't even close. And that is a game that I'm looking at adjustments and changes made, something just as small as Taurean Prince being benched and then coming off the bench with energy, with emotion, getting right to it. It looked like a move that Kenny made that worked. There's a bunch of other moves that can be debated and back and forth, but what I'm going to say is the timing of this decision is bad. Optics around this look bad. Fans all are throwing this on Kyrie and KD. Now, what I'll say is there's multiple reports coming out speculating why. So, Hudson, let's talk about why do we think this happened on March 7th, 2020? Why do we think this happened with 20 games left in the season?
Well, I feel like at first we have to talk about what happened during the press conference. We have to say what the official Nets response was. We had Sean Marks come up and talk about how it was less of a basketball decision. It was a personal decision. It was a mutual decision. Kenny felt like he wasn't getting through to the players, and they talked about it, and it was a mutual decision to part ways, and it was not given the vibe of being a basketball decision. Of course, all the media was asking, was this because of players? They didn't say KD and Kyrie specifically, but we had Pooch reporting that he did discuss it with players and that Josiah discussed it with players. So there was some disagreement there between Marks and what Pooch's source said. But at the end of the day, Pooch put out his thing. Marks put out his thing. Marks said this wasn't a decision that was made by the players. It was made by him and Kenny and Joe equally. And so, of course, that's kind of what we have to go with. But at the end of the day, I saw one tweet that said, if KD and Kyrie wanted him to stay, he would still be on the team. He would still be the coach.
Exactly.
And I agree with that completely.
So let me jump in right here. That press conference was what people would call putting lipstick on a pig. This shit is ugly right now, and there's no way to really mask it or dress it up or package it to make it seem like it looks good. New York Sports Radio was on it this morning. The Twitter sphere is on it this morning. Knicks fans are chiming in because they're just happy to see someone sharing their misery and dysfunction. This looks bad for the Nets currently in the 7th seed, looking like a team that's trending up after stopping the losing streak and having 2 big wins this week. It looks all bad. And for Sean Marks to come out in this press conference today, I watched the press conference on that little live stream, and it did nothing for me, honestly. The reasoning for this is that the team needed a different voice. It wasn't about the players, he said. It was between him and Kenny. They mutually decided to move on and part ways. Man, I don't believe that. I think Kenny was working and grinding right now the way he's always worked and grinded in Brooklyn, making something out of nothing, and he was starting to turn a corner, and this organization already had their mind made up. Sean Marks to Joseph Tsai already had their mind made up that Kenny wasn't going to be the guy next year. So instead of letting him cook up, letting him create some momentum with Karis LeVert, with Chris Chiozza, with DeAndre Jordan, Taurean Prince, Spence, whoever is playing right now, instead of him cooking up with these guys and getting hot, maybe getting on a roll, let's just dead all of this now. Let's not even let him work because we know he's not the guy. And that's the thing, right? In this new NBA, we've seen this happen with teams where players are kind of running the show, or, you know, guys are decided that they're not the guy right away. Kenny has been labeled now as the guy that helped build the culture in Brooklyn, helped develop these young players, but now he's been shown the door. He's not the guy that could take the organization to the next level which is championship aspirations. And hey, that decision was made by the Nets, and I pray to God that they are right. I also know that you can't make a decision like that on March 7th with 20-some games left unless you have a guy in mind. You have to have at least the target in mind or have had a conversation with the next coach before you can cut the guy that built this from when he came in May of 2016 to now March of 2020. This guy is 118 and 190 in his 3+ seasons. He's the longest tenured coach in New York sports, which segues me into the Yankees. Now the longest tenured coach in all of New York sports is Aaron Boone with only 2 seasons under his belt. What does that say about the dysfunction of New York sports in general? How hard it is for a coach to win and stay in New York and like establish himself and be like, Kenny wasn't allowed to continue to build and grow with this Nets team. And I think it's super unfair that he doesn't get a shot to coach KD, Kyrie, and kind of finish what he started here. As a Nets fan, I look at this as the Nets organization saying, we literally don't give a fuck about this season. Like, we don't care what happens the rest of the way out. This could go bad for us. This could go good for us. But we just chopped the leader of this team with 20 games left, with us being in the 7th seed. We don't care what the outcome is this year. That says to the fans that we shouldn't care either. And me being a Yankees guy, we're walking into opening day in 20-some days. So if the Nets have already signaled to the world that this year doesn't matter, we're on to 2020, the future is now, we're on to 2020-21, the future is now, we don't care what's going to happen with this team. How invested as fans can we be in the next 20 games? How invested can we be in wanting to get to the playoffs?